Hello everyone, today I will walk you through how I process the sun images I have taken with the DWARF 3 telescope, and I will show you the steps I do using PIPP programs, and I will explain what I do and why I do it, and I will do it just as I do while normally processing. So on your screen, when you start before shooting with the DWARF, you have this kind of screen after connection. And when you start clicking on the photo part, of course you see our beloved clouds. By using those marks I try to locate the sun. Of course the sun filter is on, otherwise looking at the sun is not recommended at all. By clicking the sun twice I autofocus it, and also using sun track button on the function, I try to place the sun somewhere in the middle, which will help in the further processing. And I use 643 for the focusing point. It depends on the DWARF and DWARF apparently, but this is what I use most of the time. And then when we move to the Astro section, there are many parameters to check. I place the shutter around 1 to 50, but the sun is really high above, so I will decrease it to 2000, and gain should be 0 to decrease the effect, and I take around 200 pictures, which is more than enough. And after that, before the more clouds come in, we start imaging. And it is complete. And as usual, I just click on the stop, followed by ending session. Sometimes this takes long, it's not a big problem. But here I want to show you one thing which might be interesting for the next steps, which is this situation. So you see the clouds. Our sun has gone through the clouds, so most probably some of our pictures are the sun behind the clouds. It is not a big problem since I have already taken 200 pictures, but it also shows that we have to go through the pictures before further processing. So here we are. We already captured our images. Our DWARF is already has been under the sun for some time, so it's quite warm, so I will keep it on for a little while. So this is the DWARF main folder. I will take all files under this into one folder in my computer, and while it is running I can explain further on what I want to do here. So basically I will process the files just as I do normally, and I will use some programs here. Some of them are paid, like Photoshop, and I also use a Python script which also requires you to install Python, or there are some online versions also, but they might take even more effort to do so. If you want to follow this, I will just recommend you to install Python, and you can use in many ways you can find in the internet. But anyways, then I will also use the stacking software as AutoStakkert. This is the 4th version, but the others also work, it doesn't matter which one you have. And also PIPP, and those two softwares are free. And finally I do the final editings on the Photoshop, which is also a paid software, but it is definitely worth every cent. So currently it's almost there, but when I get them to my computer I can run you through the script already. This script is also available on GitHub, as also it is in description. And what it does is it takes the FITS images DWARF take as a raw, and it turns them into RGB TIFF format, which are required to run them and stack them on the software. So it is what it does. And to make it work, I basically run the script, and it will ask me enter the folder path which you have the raw images from the DWARF. And for these I will show this one, but I'm just awaiting this transfer to be completed. Just a few more seconds. I just paste the location of the file and the transfer is complete, and click on enter. And in this one I have been occasionally, I was lazy, so I was processing more images, like a few days I didn't process images, then I put them all together. So you can enter multiple locations and it will do them one by one, but currently I have only one, so I click enter again. And this also shows the JSON file, which basically shows the details of your photo shoot. And in this one, as you already seen, I use one really tiny exposure. I have seen some people using much shorter exposures, but if the sun is really high up above, I use something like this. Or if it is closer, like it's later in the evening, then I can go down to 1250 or something like that. And I again, I just had 200 pictures and it is done already. So here it creates a folder called converted, and in this one you have the TIFF images. They normally look like these. It doesn't look amazing, but those are what we need. And I usually go through them one by one, or at least I skim through them, because like in this image there's lots of clouds, and also you have seen at the end of the shooting there was a large cloud passing by. I just delete them because I don't want these cloudy structures on my final image. But AutoStakkert usually makes the analysis and tells you if you have any bad images and so on, and you can select a good percentage. So it is not a big deal. But still, I just made a habit of these and just go through them. And also occasionally a bird can fly through my shot, or an airplane, which are rare events, and I do enjoy them, and I don't want to like miss that frame, because this stacking software usually removes those, like the things which is naturally not there. But with some extra processing you can actually make some composite images, as I have done before, which I can share later. But I just deleted some images, but I don't see any other big problems here, so I will just take all of them to this program. And here I increase the zoom a bit. So those are the settings I use. You can just copy them, basically, especially the left part. And those came upon some YouTube video, and yeah, I think this works good so far. And this green square wants you to find an anchor for your image, and those are usually the sunspots. And by using Control plus click, you can just set some spot, and using numbers on your keyboard, 1 2 3 4 and so on, you can set the area. I usually set somewhere around the sunspots, because those are the stable points. The rest is basically straight. When you are processing the moon pictures, they are of course much more detailed surface, but with the sun I usually go through those marks. Then I decrease these and analyze the images. The analyze usually doesn't take long, especially if you have less than 200 images, but what it basically does is to check the quality of your frames, and it sorts them depending on the quality. And I will use the TIFF output, and I also want my image sharpened also, like it also provides the raw stacked image plus the sharpened image, which I use usually for further processing. A bit lazy me, but yeah, that's what it is. And some people use drizzling, which basically increase the resolution of your image, which works quite nicely for the astrophotography using DWARF, because it's already as the DWARF moves, you can see the, like, you can merge and increase the resolution, but for some purposes I do not use it. And you can also choose the number of frames to stack or percentage to stack. I use the percentage because we have it here. So out of around 190 images, and I use this middle 50% bar as a threshold, and last time apparently I used 70%, but this time I will use somewhere like 50. So I just enter that. Then it asked me to place a grid, and for this grid, since we don't have too much detail on the surface, I just use 104 as a size. But for the moon photography and those, you can go smaller because there are many detailed and interesting structures. This is clicked, and I think it automatically goes there after analyzing the image, but I am not sure. And we place the grids. It looks like this. I don't think it's random, but it does it by itself. You can also edit by yourself, but it is not that necessary. I have never used that basically. Then I just click stack, and with these many images, and especially with the little details on the surface, it is quite fast. The stacking takes the most time, but it's still less than a minute, I can say. And after this, as I said, we will have the raw stacked image and also the sharpened image, and I am using the sharpened image for further processing, as I mentioned, and it saves the files in this one, which is AutoStakkert, and it tells you the percentage of the frames which is stacked. So if I like run another 60, there will be another folder saying ASP 60 and so on. And here we have the images, which is opening slowly. This is the raw stack, and this is the sharpened stack. And when you notice that it is green, do not freak out, it is okay. It's because of some technical details, but I don't worry about that because I will correct them. So I take the sharpened image to PIPP. This is a warning, it comes all the time, but not a problem. Then I use solar or lunar full disk, which is what we are doing. Then there are many settings here you can play around, but for my purpose I only change this setting, which is under processing options. There's the convert color to monochrome, which would remove the RGB and make it monochrome again, which I do not want. So I unclick that, and there's nothing else to do here. I just click on do processing, which opens another folder here, and we have the cropped image. The reason I am using this is here the image is on a weird location. You can make it better as you focus and soundtrack while taking the photos, but yeah, this is easier for me, so I am just doing it. But of course feel free to not use PIPP or crop yourself, but for my purposes it has been quite useful. So we have the image, it's still green. And here of course you can do many different things, but I will just use this filter, camera raw filter. And again, there are billions of settings, but first thing that I do is from color grading. By clicking on shift, I use it, move it to the right, so we have more the color we want. Actually, of course, it's not the color of the sun, but when I post the pictures in the monochrome, which is like white, black and white, people were not able to recognize the sun, so I use the colors we know. And I decrease the exposure slightly, like yeah, maybe this much, because it brings the eye a bit more details, and also with the contrast. Of course, with these you can play around as you like, but those are my preferences mostly. I increase the highlight, decrease the shadows slightly, and for whites I have been using these, like you don't want those appearing here, but you can set somewhere around here. And I was clicking on the Alt button on my keyboard, I forgot to say. And for blacks, also decreasing it. All my purpose is to get as much as details. Okay, this sounds good. And for the effects, I increase the texture a bit, something like that, and you can see some of the more details started appearing. Not all of them are real, some of them are just noise actually, but it looks nice to me. Again, the rest is up to you. And for the curves, many people use this S-shaped curve. But again, it is not necessary as long as you are happy with your results. And finally, for details, a bit sharpening, maybe not this much. And you can go like full noise reduction, leaving only the sunspots, but I don't want that much. This sounds good. I have not found a good use of this color noise reduction. Maybe it's about my settings, I don't know. But here we go. And I saved that as a PNG with the dates. Today is July 4th. And here we go. So this is the stacking results versus the edited version. And I also want to show you the DWARF output, which is here. And the rest is again up to you. So thank you for watching. I hope I gave you some ideas, and if you have any questions, of course feel free to contact me. And have a good day. I wish you clear skies.